The stars blinked coldly above the forest, distant and indifferent to the violence unfolding beneath them. On this contested human colony, silence fell after the slaughter, but not the kind born from peace. It was the silence of death. The galactic hunters stood among the bodies, their sleek, armored forms glinting beneath twin moons. They were called the Zorkai, and across the galaxy their name inspired dread. Not just soldiers, but apex predators, elite trackers and killers who prided themselves on hunting the most dangerous prey. Their hunts were more than warfare. They were rituals, celebrations of superiority. And now they'd come to hunt humans. Zorkai commander knelt beside a fallen human soldier, studying the crude weapon lying at the corpse's side. It was a rifle, bolt action, with a wooden stock and scratched metal barrel. The commander let out a sharp bark of laughter, the sound grating and metallic through his helmet's vox. Primitive, he scoffed, lifting the weapon as if it were diseased. Kinetic projectiles, still clinging to chemical propellants. No wonder they fell so easily. The other hunters joined in the laughter, their voices crackling across the comms. In their gauntleted hands, they carried sleek plasma-based rifles and wrist-mounted energy cannons. Their armor shimmered with active camouflage, shifting hues to blend seamlessly with the trees. Against technology like this, what chance did humanity have? I expected more, another hunter sneered, nudging a body with his boot. The human's armor was cracked open, useless against the plasma bolts that had torn through their lines. They're barely worth the effort. The commander tossed the rifle aside, the weapon landing in the dirt with a dull thud. He turned, his gaze toward the horizon, where the distant lights of a human settlement flickered weakly. "We'll take their colony by dawn." His voice was calm, confident. "We'll mount their skulls in the Hall of Triumph." The Zorkai had studied humans before this hunt. They'd heard tales of human ingenuity and resilience, but they saw none of that here. These soft colonists wielded outdated technology, clinging to relics of a past age. The Zorkai had battled warlords and apex predators across the stars. What threat could a few backwater primates pose? Their arrogance was absolute. The hunters moved silently through the undergrowth, their armor shifting color to match the terrain. They stalked their prey with practiced ease, scanning the landscape with thermal optics and motion sensors. The human colony lay just a few clicks ahead. But first, there was one last patrol to deal with. The humans never saw it coming. The Zorkai struck like wraiths. Plasma bolts hissed through the night, cutting down the patrol before they could even cry out. Bodies hit the ground, smoldering holes burned clean through armor and flesh. The hunters moved among the fallen, kicking aside weapons and collecting trophies. One hunter paused, holding up another human firearm for inspection. A long-barreled rifle, battered and scarred. He turned it over in his hands, sneering at the simplicity of the design. No power cells, no plasma containment. Just a long tube of metal and wood, designed to hurl bits of lead at high speed. "What a waste of craftsmanship," he muttered, snapping the bolt back and forth, the metallic clack-clack echoing through the trees. "They call this a weapon?" The commander chuckled. "Let them cling to their relics. It only makes the hunt easier." He stepped over the corpses, leading his warriors deeper into the night. The colony awaited, soft, vulnerable. The hunt was nearly over before it had even begun, but unseen in the darkness, another set of eyes watched. Perched high in the trees, a lone human sniper adjusted the scope on his rifle. He'd seen everything. The ambush, the slaughter, the arrogance of these so-called hunters. His breath was slow, steady, the rifle stock pressed firmly against his shoulder. He didn't move, didn't breathe. He simply waited, watching through the scope as the aliens laughed and mocked his fallen comrades. The Zorkai had made one fatal mistake. They'd assumed they were the hunters. The sniper settled his crosshairs on the lead alien's helmet. His finger tightened on the trigger. Soon they would learn the truth. Humans were never prey. The night was still. The only sounds came from the rustling of the wind through the trees and the distant hum of alien technology. Perched high in the canopy, the sniper lay motionless, his body pressed flat against the thick branch. Even his breathing was measured, slow, deliberate. The forest around him was dark, the twin moons casting pale light through the leaves. But in his scope, the world was crystal clear. His name didn't matter. Out here, names were useless. He was a veteran of wars long forgotten, forged in conflicts where silence meant survival and patience meant victory. The rifle in his hands was as much a part of him as his heartbeat. A bolt-action sniper rifle, old and worn, its metal dulled from years of use. Primitive, the aliens would call it. Deadly, he would prove. The Zorkai were bold, arrogant. He'd watched them move through the forest, stalking humans like game animals. They carried their plasma rifles loosely, their formation lazy. No discipline, no caution. They didn't believe they had anything to fear. That would change. The sniper shifted slightly, eyes never leaving the scope. His nest was perfect. High ground, shadowed by thick foliage, with 3 escape routes planned. The forest was his domain. He knew the terrain, the wind patterns, the density of the air. He'd scouted this spot for hours before taking it, ensuring his shots would fly true. From here, he could see everything. The Zorkai had no idea they were already being watched. They moved in a staggered line, their alien armor blending into the shadows, but not well enough. Their energy signatures glimmered faintly through his scope. The sniper watched their leader, the one who'd mocked the fallen human weapons earlier. The alien strode confidently at the front, scanning the trees with his helmet's sensors. The sniper smirked. "Sensors won't save you." He steadied his breathing. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. His crosshairs hovered over the alien's helmet. He adjusted slightly for wind and distance. In through the nose, hold. His finger rested on the trigger. Time slowed. The forest faded away. There was only the rifle, the target, and the cold certainty of the shot. Crack. The rifle kicked against his shoulder, the suppressed shot barely louder than a whisper. A heartbeat later, the alien's head snapped back, a dark mist exploding. From the back of his helmet, the body collapsed instantly, crashing into the underbrush. The others froze. The sniper didn't watch. He was already moving. The Zorkai scrambled for cover, their cloaking systems flickering as they dove behind trees and rocks. Their leader lay motionless in the dirt, a smoking hole punched clean through his skull. The hunters scanned wildly, their sensors sweeping the area. Where did it come from? One hissed, voice crackling through their comms. "I saw nothing! No heat signature, no muzzle flash." Another sharp crack split the night. A second hunter dropped, his body jerking once before going limp. Panic spread through the survivors. They fired blindly into the trees, plasma bolts scorching bark and leaves. Their weapons hummed with alien energy, but they hit nothing. The sniper was already gone. He moved silently, slipping through the undergrowth like a shadow. Every step was calculated, every movement controlled. No wasted motion, no sound. He knew. They'd scanned for heat, so he kept his body low, crawling through the cool earth. His camouflage blended seamlessly with the environment, his rifle wrapped in strips of cloth to break its outline. Another 100 meters. New position. He set up again. The Zorkai were shouting now, their discipline unraveling. They huddled together, trying to cover every angle. The sniper watched them through his scope, noting their mistakes. They clustered too close, making themselves easy targets. Their scanning patterns were predictable, and worst of all, they were scared. He slowed his breathing once more. In, hold, out, crack. A third hunter fell, the shot punching through his chest plate. The aliens shrieked in panic, firing wildly into the darkness. Their plasma bolts carved glowing paths through the night, but the sniper had already moved again. Each shot came from a new position, each kill driving the survivors further into fear. They'd come here thinking themselves the hunters, But now, in the darkness, with death striking unseen, they were prey. The sniper chambered another round, his gloved hands moving with practiced ease. He watched as the aliens crouched behind cover, their sensors spinning wildly. One of them, younger, less experienced, broke and ran, sprinting into the trees. The sniper didn't even need to. Think, crack! The runner tumbled into the dirt, unmoving. The sniper shifted again, creeping through the underbrush. The Zorkai fired sporadically, their bolts scorching the ground where he'd been minutes before. He smiled grimly. Let them waste their energy. Let them sweat. They'd mocked human weapons. Now they would learn what a human could do with. When he melted back into the shadows, eyes scanning for his next target, the hunt had only just begun. The forest was alive with fear. The Zorkai moved in a haphazard formation now, no longer the confident predators that had stalked through the trees just minutes before. Each rustling leaf, each whisper of wind, made them flinch. Their sleek armor shimmered faintly as their active camouflage tried to adapt, but the shifting hues betrayed their panic. The sniper watched through his scope, silent and patient. The aliens' arrogance had evaporated. Now they huddled close. Plasma rifles gripped tightly, scanning the shadows with wide, frantic eyes. They'd come expecting a trophy hunt. Instead, they were being stalked. One shot. One kill. Move. Repeat. The Zorkai leader crouched behind a fallen tree, his mandibles clicking anxiously as he barked orders over the comms. Form up. Sensors at maximum sweep. Find him. Their helmets scanned in every spectrum, infrared, ultraviolet, even motion tracking, but the sniper knew better than to expose himself to their technology. He moved with the terrain, using the cold earth to mask his heat signature and the shadows to cloak his form. Even their advanced scanners couldn't detect what wasn't there. Another hunter stepped out from cover, moving too fast. The sniper exhaled slowly, crack, boom. The alien's head snapped back, the impact hurling the body into the underbrush. The remaining hunters scattered, plasma bolts streaking blindly into the night. The sniper was already gone, crawling through the undergrowth, invisible to all but the most patient eyes. He's toying with us, one hunter hissed, panic creeping into his voice. He shoots and vanishes, like a ghost, the leader snarled. It's just one human. We have the advantage. Our tech is superior. Then where is he? The leader growled, tapping his wrist-mounted command console. Deploy the drones. Sweep the area. If we can't see him, we'll flush. Him out! Small insect-like drones lifted into the air, their optics scanning the terrain. They hovered low, sweeping infrared beams across the underbrush. The hunters tightened their formation, eyes darting nervously at every flicker of movement. The sniper watched it all from a new position, nestled beneath the roots of a massive tree. He smirked as the drones passed overhead. Predictable, he reached into his pack and pulled out a small device, a heat pack, normally used to warm rations. He activated it, then placed it atop a broken branch. The warmth spread slowly, mimicking the signature of a crouching figure. Then he crawled 50 meters in the opposite direction. The drones caught the decoy instantly. Red lights flared, and the hunters turned as one, opening fire. Plasma bolts shredded the underbrush, scorching the trees. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing but a smoldering branch. That's when the sniper struck again. Crack! A hunter collapsed, a hole punched clean through his chest. The others wheeled around, firing wildly into the darkness. The sniper was already moving, vanishing into the shadows. They were unraveling. The Zorkai leader's hand shook as he tapped furiously at his comms. His squad was down to half strength, and they still hadn't seen the sniper. Every time they thought they had him cornered, another hunter would drop. The forest felt like it was closing in, every shadow hiding death. "We have to fall back," one of the remaining hunters whispered. This isn't a fight. It's a massacre." The leader grabbed him by the collar, snarling, "We are Zorkai. We do not run from prey." But even as he spoke, he heard it. A faint rustling in the trees. His head snapped toward the sound, plasma rifle raised. The others followed suit, scanning the darkness. Then they saw it. One of their fallen comrades had been dragged into a clearing. The corpse sat slumped against a tree, eyes staring blankly ahead. A single playing card had been placed on its chest. A human calling card, smeared with alien blood. The message was clear. "I'm watching. He's mocking us," the leader whispered. "He's hunting us." Suddenly, the forest felt colder, the night darker. The hunters huddled closer, their armor shifting uneasily against the underbrush. Each breath felt louder than the last, each heartbeat a thunderclap. The sniper was out there, waiting, and he was never going to stop. Click, boom. The forest was deathly quiet. The only sounds were the heavy breaths of the remaining Zorkai hunters, their armor humming faintly with each movement. The darkness pressed against them, thick and unyielding. The sniper had become a ghost, unseen, unheard, but always felt. Every step they took felt like they were walking into his crosshairs. Their leader, Commander Vralzek, clenched his claws around his plasma rifle, mandibles clicking anxiously. 5 hunters remained, their once proud formation reduced to a huddled cluster. He knew morale was crumbling. They needed a plan. "Enough of this," Vralzek growled, voice harsh over the comms. "He's a lone human, flesh and bone. We are Zorkai hunters, apex predators. We end this now." One hunter stepped forward hesitantly. "How, Commander?" "He sees us. Before we even know he's there. Our scanners are useless. He's already taken half of us." Vralzek bared his fangs in frustration. "Then we force him out. Prepare the decoy. We'll bait him into revealing his position." They set the trap quickly. A distress beacon was placed at the center of a small clearing, its blue light pulsing softly against the dark undergrowth. The remaining hunters positioned themselves. In the trees, lying in wait with their rifles trained on the perimeter, one hunter activated his comm, voice trembling with carefully placed fear. "Human sniper, I am wounded and alone. Please, show mercy." His voice echoed through the comms, broadcast on an open frequency. The hunters waited, fingers twitching on their triggers. The sniper heard it. From his perch, high in the rocks, he watched the scene unfold through his scope. Sloppy, the beacon's rhythmic pulsing was a dead giveaway. The voices were too controlled, too even. A real wounded soldier would be panicked, breath ragged, voice cracking with pain. The sniper smirked, shifting his sights. The beacon was bait, but the hunters had made a mistake. They'd exposed something far more valuable. Their comms relay. A sleek antenna jutted from one of the hunters' packs, sending signals to orbit. Without it, they'd be completely isolated. The sniper slowed his breathing, aligning his sights. Crack! The relay exploded in a shower of sparks. The hunter carrying it stumbled forward, screaming as he ripped the smoldering pack from his back. The others scattered, eyes darting wildly, trying to locate the shot. "He's targeting our communications." One shouted, "Hold position, scan for—" Crack! Another hunter dropped, a clean hole punched through his helmet. The others opened fire blindly into the trees, plasma bolts scorching the underbrush. The sniper was already on the move, slipping through the shadows. The hunters' cohesion unraveled. The comms were down. No way to call for help. No way to track the sniper. Their superior technology was useless against an enemy they couldn't even see. Paranoia set in. "He's toying with us," one hunter hissed, mandibles clicking nervously. "Picking us off one by one." "Shut your mouth," Vralzek snarled, but even he couldn't hide the tremor in his voice. Then came the whispers. Pfft! A suppressed shot struck the ground near one hunter's foot. He leaped back, heart pounding. Crack! A shot rang out from the opposite direction, striking a tree mere inches from another's head. They spun in circles, firing wildly into the darkness. Every time they thought they'd found the sniper, another, Shot came from somewhere else. It was impossible. There couldn't be more than one, could there? Vralzek's breathing quickened. "He's using ricochet shots," he muttered. "He's making us believe there are more of him." The forest became a living nightmare. Shadows shifted unnaturally. The wind carried phantom footsteps. Each shot, distant or near, felt like the whisper of death itself. Then they found the body. One of their fallen comrades had been propped against a tree, eyes wide and empty. A knife was lodged in his chest, not to kill, but to pin a message carved into a human dog tag. "I see you." That was the final straw. "Enough of this!" Vralzek roared, slamming his fist into a tree. "We are Zorkai! We do not hide! We do not run! We end this now!" He raised his plasma rifle and fired into the sky, the shot echoing through the trees. The remaining hunters let out war cries, charging into the forest, plasma bolts streaking through the darkness. They fired at shadows, at whispers, at nothing. But the sniper was patient. He watched. He waited, and when the first hunter broke from the pack, running blindly into the night, crack, Vralzek heard the shot. He turned just in time to see his last warrior fall, body crumpling into the dirt. The commander stood alone. His plasma rifle trembled in his hands. The forest fell silent once more. And somewhere in the darkness, the sniper watched. The forest was still. The kind of stillness that pressed against the lungs and made every breath feel like a betrayal. Commander Vralzek knelt behind a gnarled tree, claws gripping his plasma rifle so tightly the metal creaked. His remaining two hunters crouched. Nearby, eyes darting into the darkness, their chitinous armor streaked with mud and blood. Every shadow felt alive. Every rustle of the wind carried the promise of death. They were no longer hunters. They were prey. Vralzek hissed softly, mandibles clicking in frustration. How had it come to this? They were Zorkai, the galaxy's most feared predators. They had hunted the deadliest beasts across countless worlds. And yet, here they were, reduced to cowering in the dirt. Stalked by a lone human with a rifle that should have been obsolete centuries ago, one of his hunters shifted, voice trembling. "Commander! We can't fight a ghost!" Vralzek snarled, slamming a fist into the tree. "Coward! He bleeds, like any other. We just need to find him." But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at him. They had tried everything. Thermal scans, motion trackers, drones, all useless. The human was always a step ahead, slipping through the shadows like smoke. Every shot he fired was a death sentence, and every time they moved, one of them died. A soft crack echoed in the distance. The hunters flinched, scanning the trees. Nothing. No flash, no sound, no sign, just death in the air. The sniper was watching, waiting. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had lost all meaning. The two remaining hunters were exhausted, nerves frayed to the breaking point. They had long since stopped trying to call for help. Their comms were dead, their relay shattered. They were alone. "We can't stay here," one whispered. "He's picking us off. We need to run." Vralzek rounded on him, eyes blazing. "And run where? Do you think he won't follow? No. We make our stand here. We fight, and we kill this creature." He turned his gaze to the forest, scanning the darkness. Somewhere out there, the human was watching, waiting. "You hear me, human?" Vralzek roared into the night. "Come face me, or are you too much of a coward to fight without hiding?" No answer, just silence. And then, crack, the hunter. To Vralzek's left, dropped without a sound. A neat hole punched clean through his skull. His body hit the dirt, motionless. The last hunter screamed, firing wildly into the trees. Plasma bolts seared the darkness, illuminating the forest in flashes of purple light. The trees burned, the underbrush smoldered, but the sniper was already gone. The hunter stumbled forward, chest heaving, eyes wide. "Where are you? Show yourself!" Crack! His body hit the ground, twitching once before going still. Vralzek was alone. The commander knelt beside his fallen warriors, claws trembling. He could feel the sniper's gaze on him, a weight heavier than any armor. His arrogance had brought them here. His pride had doomed them all. He looked down at his wrist, claws hovering over the activation switch on his gauntlet. The self-destruct device hummed faintly beneath the plating. One press, and he'd turn the forest into a crater. If he was going to die, he would not die alone. "You may kill me, human," he whispered, activating the device. "But I will take you with me." The gauntlet hissed as the countdown began. 10 seconds. The air crackled with energy. He stood, raising his plasma rifle, eyes scanning the trees. "Come then, human. Let us see if you can kill faster than I." And I... The wind stirred, leaves rustled. Somewhere in the distance a branch creaked. Vralzek's mandibles curled into a snarl. "Face me!" And then he heard it, the faintest whisper of breath. Crack! Pain exploded through his chest. He stumbled, claws clutching at the hole in his armor. Blood poured down his front, dark and thick, his vision blurred, legs giving out. Beneath him, he hit the ground hard, gasping. The gauntlet sparked. The countdown halted at 2 seconds. A perfect shot, right through the activation core. The self-destruct was dead. Vralzek coughed, blood splattering the ground. He felt the cold creeping into his limbs, the darkness closing in. Footsteps, soft, measured. He turned his head, vision swimming. A figure emerged from the shadows. Human. The sniper. The human knelt beside him, rifle slung across his back. Her face was calm, cold. He reached down, pulling a single metal tag from his neck and pressing it into Vralzek's trembling claws. The alien looked down, vision dimming. The tag was worn, scratched, but the name was still clear. Sergeant James Callahan. Vralzek looked up, eyes locking with the sniper's. The human said nothing. He didn't need to. The silence was answer enough. As darkness claimed him, Vralzek realized the truth. This had never been a hunt. This was a war, and the Zorkai had never stood a chance. The forest was silent once more. Not the eerie silence of a hunt, but the stillness that followed death. The kind of silence that settled over battlefields. Long after the fighting ended, when even the wind dared not disturb the fallen. Sergeant James Callahan stood alone amidst the carnage. The bodies of the Galactic hunters lay scattered across the ground, their sleek exosuits and advanced weaponry. Now little more than lifeless wreckage. The air smelled of scorched metal and alien blood. He moved quietly, boots crunching against the dirt. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the battlefield. Callahan knelt beside the last body, the leader. The alien's body was twisted, mandibles slack in a final expression of disbelief. Callahan studied the corpse for a moment, then pulled out his combat knife. The blade glinted faintly in the dim light. With steady hands, he carved a message into the hunter's sleek, black armor. The knife's edge scraped against the metal, each stroke deliberate. By the time he finished, the words stood out stark and clear. Humans are not prey. The sniper stood, stepping back to survey his work. The message wasn't for the dead, it was for those who would come after. For the fools who believed their technology made them superior. For the ones who dared to mock humanity. He reached into his vest, pulling free a small, battered radio. Tuning the frequency, he clicked the transmitter. "Mission complete. Hunters are down. Extraction point Bravo. Over." The radio crackled. Then a voice, calm and steady, answered. "Copy that, Callahan. Extraction en route. ETA 15 minutes. Is it tight?" Callahan lowered the radio, gaze sweeping the battlefield once more. The fight had been brutal, but it was never a question of if he'd win, only when. The Zorkai had underestimated him. They'd relied on sensors and drones, on their energy weapons and armor. But war wasn't about technology. It was about patience. Precision, knowing when to pull the trigger and when to wait, and Callahan had waited. As he moved through the trees, he collected his spent shell casings, leaving no trace behind. Not that it mattered. The bodies were evidence enough. Still, old habits died hard. He knelt by the body of the first hunter he'd taken down, inspecting the kill. Clean shot. One round, right through the eye socket. He allowed himself a small nod of satisfaction before continuing. The sun dipped lower, the sky painted in hues of crimson and violet. Callahan made his way toward the extraction point, steps silent, rifle slung across his back. Every so often he paused, scanning the tree line for movement. Even now, he remained vigilant. The galaxy was vast. There would always be another enemy, another hunt, and he would be ready. Word spread quickly. The bodies were discovered days later, when a Zorkai recovery team arrived. The scene they found was not a battlefield. It was a graveyard. The hunters, once so proud and fierce, lay broken and lifeless. Their advanced technology had failed them. Their arrogance had doomed them, but it wasn't the bodies that terrified the recovery team. It was the message: humans are not prey. The words carved into their commander's armor sent ripples through the galactic community. The Zorkai were elite, the best of the best. If they had fallen so easily, what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? The news reached every corner of known space. Stories of the lone human sniper, the ghost who had hunted the hunters, spread like wildfire. Some called him a demon, others a god of death. But one thing was clear: humanity was not to be underestimated. High above the planet, aboard a sleek Zorkai warship, a council of alien leaders watched the footage in silence. The final moments of the hunt played on a loop, the hunters moving through the trees, scanning wildly, then dropping one by one. When the video ended, no one spoke. The air was heavy with fear. Finally, one of the counselors leaned forward. "What do we do?" Another alien, older and wiser, tapped a clawed finger against the table. "We leave them alone. If humans wish to stay in their corner of the galaxy, we let them. If we're wise, we'll pretend they don't exist. And if they come for us?" The elder alien looked away, mandibles clicking softly. "Then we pray they never do." Back on the planet, Callahan reached the extraction point. A sleek dropship descended silently from the sky, its engines barely a whisper. He climbed aboard, settling into the seat as the craft lifted off. As the dropship soared into the clouds, Callahan glanced out the window. The battlefield faded into the distance, swallowed by the darkened forest. Another mission complete, another lesson taught. He leaned back, closing his eyes. The galaxy would remember this day, and so would he. For now, though, he waited, because there would always be another hunt, another battlefield, another enemy foolish enough to mock humanity. And when that day came, he would be ready.